All right, this one we're going to do polynomials 5.1, and here's what we got. We're going to try to do some long division, and I'll tell you what, why don't I kind of warm us up? Why don't I do, I don't know, 9 divided by, let's go with, let's see, 108. We'll do that. Do you remember this back in 5th grade, I think? All right, it's long division, and basically what you do, the process is you go 9 into, how many times can 9 go into 1? 0 times. All right, so you move on to the next. How many times can 9 go into 10? 1 time. So you take this number and you multiply it by here, and you get 9, and so you have 9 over here. Then you subtract this over here, and you get 1 over here, and you drop down to 8. Maybe you put a little arrow when you were a kid. How many times does 9 go into 18? Well, that's 2 times. All right, that's 12. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of revisit this. Now, I know most of you guys are like, I hated long division. Well, here's kind of the point as to why we taught it to you. What we're going to do is we're going to take a look at this polynomial, and I know it's going to be kind of crazy. All right, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at this polynomial, and I know it's going to be kind of crazy, but to be honest with you, I think it kind of makes a lot of sense. What we want to do is we've learned how to kind of look at a graph and get the factors of it. But and if this thing were, and you also know how to do this, 4x squared plus 2x plus 3 or something like that. If this were a square term, we know how to solve that. You use the quadratic equation, you complete the square, you factor it, whatever you want to do. But the problem is, I don't necessarily know if anyone's ever taught you how to factor something like this. X cubed minus 4x squared plus 2x plus 3. And I'll be perfectly honest with you, I actually don't know how to factor something like that very well. So what I'm needed, and kind of what we give you as a clue, is what is one of the factors of it. Because I suspect that this thing can be written something like this. It could probably even be written something like this, if we're lucky. But if I could know one of these, like maybe this one, or this one, it doesn't matter, then what is left over? That's really what I'm asking. So the way we approach that is we kind of go back to that old long division. Watch carefully the steps, because essentially these steps are the exact same thing that you learned in 5th grade. The thing about it is maybe it's a little bit more, you got to be a little bit more careful. All right, the number that we're trying to match here aren't numbers, actually. We're going to only kind of work with this variable. I'll show you what we mean. I ask myself, x cubed, what do I need to multiply x by in order to get x cubed? Well, I would need to multiply that by x squared. Because if I multiply x squared times x, I'll get x to the 3rd power. So I'm going to multiply this x by everything out in front over here, and I'm careful to put this kind of parentheses around it, because I need to remember to do it to both of these terms. So this would be x cubed, and this would be minus 3x squared. Now, the next step I did when I was doing long division is I subtracted this thing. Again, I'm going to put in those parentheses, because what I need to remember to do is when I subtract this, I need to distribute the subtraction to each and every one of these terms. I can't just subtract the first term and then have the last term. That would be cheating. So I need to turn this one into a negative and this into a positive. Basically, I think to myself, I changed the sign of every single term in there. Because essentially, you want these guys to cancel. The x cubed minus the x cubed, that's just 0. Over here, this doesn't cancel, but that's fine. So I have negative 4 plus 3 is negative 1, x squared. I'll drop down that 2x, And then we play this game again. What do you multiply x by to get a negative x squared? Well, I would need to multiply that by a negative x. Because negative x times x gives me negative x squared. See, negative x times x gives me negative x squared. I remember to multiply this negative x by this thing, and I'll get positive 3x. Now, remember, change the sign of everything over here so that becomes a positive and a negative. Because I want these guys to cancel out, which will happen. And then this will give me negative x plus 3. Now, what do I have to multiply x by to get negative x? Oh, that's just negative 1. Because negative 1 times x is negative x. In fact, I'll put that there. And negative 1 times negative 3 is positive 3. I need to remember to subtract this thing, and I have negative, positive, negative. And then when I subtract, or when I add in this case, because I changed the signs at the bottom, I'll get 0, 0, which is good. I'll have a remainder 0. So I would argue that this times this gives me this. In fact, I might be able to, actually, you know what, I don't think I can, never mind. But what I will do is I'll prove that to you. Why don't we do this? Why don't we do x minus 3 times x squared minus x minus 1. Let's see what happens. See if we played this game correctly. Alright, let's do it real quick. I'll multiply everything in here by x, and I'll have x cubed minus x squared minus x. And I'll multiply everything in here by negative 3, and I'll have negative 3x squared plus 3x plus 3. Alright, combine like terms. This guy's alike with that guy. This guy's alike with that guy. I have x cubed minus 4x squared plus 2x plus 3. Okay, that's the same. So I know that if I knew one of the factors, I could tell you what the rest of the term was, which was that. That's my answer, actually.